Well, the murder of a young law student in East London has sparked anger countrywide. 23-year-old Tumelo Mothotoane's dismembered body was found in a suitcase in the East London area of Quickney. Her boyfriend is due to appear in court today. Now, Dr. Lesley-Ann Foster, a member of the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Response Fund, joins us now to just have this conversation. And Doc, thank you for your time and good morning to you. I really wish it would have been under different circumstances, given the continuous conversations we always have about GBV, but it seems it's falling on deaf ears. When we look at Tumelo's case and how she was brutally, murdered, total disregard of human life, and you look at the fact that it's happened during Women's Month, what does it say about efforts for organizations as yourselves, individuals as yourselves, constantly trying to raise awareness around the scourge of GBV in this country?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that question, and thank you for putting the spotlight onto femicide, the killing of women, which has got to outrageous levels in our country. We are both outraged at the death of Tumelo, but also very sad that this is the reality of so many women in our lives. We have made significant strides in our fight against gender-based violence in terms of having a new national strategic plan on violence against women, but this requires a complete shift within our society. Women are killed, girls are killed because of their gender. And what we are seeing and understanding more and more is that we need to work on prevention. We need our entire society to place a value on the lives of women and girls. And that initiative, while started in our country, is nowhere near reaching its end goal, which is to ensure that women's lives are valued, that we have the guarantees of the Constitution in our lived experiences. We have the frameworks, we have all of the mechanisms that we need to make the change, but that hasn't been effected yet. I think the new strategic plan, which has recently been signed off, gives us that opportunity if we all input into it. Because it's not just a state responsibility, although the state does have the responsibility of securing the lives of all its citizens, but we have to work together on this one.
Doc, do you think there's a resistance by perpetrators or perpetrators would be? Because I can't help but think that there might be someone out there, a man, a partner, a trusted, individual planning someone's death, planning to murder another woman as we're having this conversation. But do you think there's a resistance against the work that's been made to have these conversations around preventative measures, saying stop killing women, women have a right to life? Do you think there's a resistance when it comes to that?
I think there's a resistance to valuing women's lives, absolutely. And I think as a society, we don't quite get to the depth of how we do that. We're starting to make those changes now because we have a direction. Look, what we've done over the past few years is we've looked at what this women's lived realities are and how we need to change those. And it's been a process. You can't change something as significant as this in a few moments, because it is in the mindset, it's in our social norms and our standards. It's how we treat women generally. And we haven't got a culture of treating women well and treating women with respect and dignity. Almost every woman in our country will experience violence in her lifetime in one way or another, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's as sexual harassment, as abuse, all of that. So we're exposed to that. That has to shift, and we need to change the norms and standards, and we're beginning to work on that. Our biggest challenge has been that we have focused on victim empowerment, seeing women as victims. That I believe is the negative approach. We should be talking about how we build women's agency. We should be talking about women as survivors. And in focusing on victim support, we have slacked on prevention. So prevention is the key, and prevention includes many things. It means the protection of women. It means successful prosecution, because we have high levels of impunity when it comes to gender-based violence. We will hear about a murder, but we don't follow through as to whether there's actually been an arrest, whether it's gone through the courts, whether there's a conviction. So all of those elements need to be, followed through and checked through. But now what we have is great commitment from both civil society, because the numbers are outrageous. The numbers of women that are killed, you know, Nosicelo is a particularly gruesome murder. We're seeing more of that in the country, and that's where we have to focus our attention on prevention. But prevention also means looking at the structural issues, looking at issues of inequality, and here we're talking about gender inequality, but we're talking about economic, social, political inequality, you know, that women have to face. All of those social, those structural drivers have to be addressed. The economic empowerment of women is an important element. And, you know, so when we talk about violence against women, we can't talk about just the act of violence, but what are the drivers underneath, and how do we address those drivers at a structural level? That's a big state responsibility.
I have to just leave it there and let it go for now. I wish we had more time to talk about this, but thank you so much for your input, Dr. Lesley-Ann, a member of the GBV Response Fund.